9 says the decline of the U.S. dollar, kind of building off of the previous prompt as well.
Told you that China started buying Saudi oil in their own denomination. I think it was pronounced yuan. Now that's from March of last year, and it's going to accelerate the death of the petrodollar. Now I don't want to explain to you what that is again, but I will. All right, here we go. So Saudi Arabia won't sell oil. If you want to buy oil from Saudi Arabia, you have to convert your currency into U.S. dollars. And what that does is then everybody in the world has to have U.S. dollars on hand in case they have to buy oil. And that props up our U.S. dollar. That's why our U.S. dollar is the reserve currency of the world. Why does Saudi Arabia do that? Because we promised them the use of our military if they do that. And that's why we're helping commit a genocide in Yemen. So that's what the petrodollar is, right? And so now, because Joe Biden and the NATO are antagonizing everybody else in the world, not only Russia, not only China, not only Venezuela, not only places like that, but also all of Europe is getting pretty sick of our shit also, because they're the one paying the price for us blowing up Nord Stream pipeline and killing their economy. So right now, Saudi Arabia is starting to sell oil in... Is that yuan? Is that how you say it? Which is bad news for American economy.
Well, that's why we can just print money like assholes because
of this.
Yeah.
So Russia says China will start paying for gas in rubles and yuan. That's September 6th. Hang on. Saudi Arabia is set to join anti-Western bloc with China and Russia.
Wait, we helped them commit that genocide.
March 29th, I know. Hey, we helped you commit a genocide in Yemen. Why aren't you our friends? The kingdom's cabinet seeks full membership of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization as the U.S. disengages with the Middle East. What? You want to see? That's Putin, and that's the guy running Saudi Arabia. They seem pretty chummy. I wish they would show Trudeau sitting next to him. Remember when that happened? Now what's going on? Iran and Saudi Arabia will normalize ties under agreement brokered by China. Saudi Arabia and Syria close to resuming ties in a Russia brokered talks. So China and Russia are now the leaders in the Middle East. And what are they doing? Are they bombing? No, they're bringing peace. You don't think the world sees that? The world sees that. You know, the number one country that that the world fears every time they do this survey? The United States. Why? Because we're blowing up the goddamn whole world. That's why. We did Iraq. We did Syria. We did Libya. Did Afghanistan for 20 years. We're now doing Ukraine, doing Yemen, doing Somalia, Ethiopia, the Sudan. That's what we're doing.
Not to mention the countries we screw up, like, for example, Libya. I didn't know we screwed up like 4 other countries around Libya because of that, because of killing him.
Yeah.
It destabilized
the whole region.
Yeah.
And so now China and Brazil have reached a deal to trade in their own currencies, ditching the U.S. dollar as an intermediary. So now all other countries used to trade using U.S. dollars, because everybody had to have them to buy oil, so it just was more convenient for everybody. But now, because the United States are such such maniacs, how about that?
Hegemaniacs?
Such imperialistic maniacs. This is what they said Trump was going to do. Trump was going to make the rest of the countries, even our allies, hate us and work against us. That's exactly what's happening now. There are new economic power centers joining it to oppose us. This is what they said Trump was going to do.
Which is more effective than bombing, by the way.
Yes.
It works for us, all that currency manipulation.
China and Brazil have reached a deal to trade in their own. And you know how people try to make it sound bad that China's doing their Belt and Road Initiative?
Mm-hmm. Oh, in Africa? Yeah, how terrible that is.
Why don't they just bomb them? Why would they give them money for stuff?
They're just doing the thing we do with the IMF, those monsters.
China and Brazil have reached a deal to trade in their own currencies, ditching the US dollar. The expectation is that this will reduce costs, promote even greater bilateral trade, and facilitate investment. China is Brazil's biggest trading partner with a record 150.5 billion in bilateral trade last year. Really? Today as well, Saudi Arabia has joined a China-led security bloc. A China-led security bloc. That's the end of it. And trade alliance with China, Russia, India, Pakistan, and others. Saudi Arabia's cabinet on Tuesday approved a memorandum awarding Riyadh the status of dialogue partner in the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. The SCO is a political security and trade alliance that lists China, Russia, India, Pakistan, and 4 other Central Asian nations as members. Beijing is Riyadh's largest trading partner, with bilateral trade worth $87.3 billion in 2021. Okay. And I think it's safe and impartial to say at this point that Biden and his team are being significantly outmaneuvered in their foreign policy. Boy, is that the understatement of the year so far.
So we got Russia right where we want them.
Their economy is stronger than ever. Their influence in the world is greater than ever. We're seen as the terrorists, and they're seen as the peacemakers. Holy shit. This is, again, if every nightmare you had about Trump's foreign policy were to come true, it would be now. Except it's all being done by Biden and the neocons running his administration.
And also Biden did most of the Trump things.
Of course.
None of the, like,
Of
any of the
course.
good ones, any of them promised. All the stuff that you said you hated and more.
Go to jimmydore.com to see my new stand-up special, COVID Lies Are Funny. For only $10, you get to become a premium member too. And come see us do our...
All right, Jimmy Dore. I see you guys really like your Jimmy Dore. I have a cousin who listens to Jimmy Dore. I find that so kind of strange. Real Black Gentleman, the decline of the US dollar. What did you see in that Jimmy Dore video?
I wasn't really paying attention. I was thinking about the Gucci lyrics for Bricks, right? But I mean, again, like, you know what I'm saying, not having too much sway in, like, you know, hard geoeconomics. You know, black people are at the whims of, you know what I'm saying, powers that are, you know what I'm saying, more dominant than us. So again, all we can do is pay attention and make sure that if, you know, people talk about, oh, the dollar falling, when you're in the United States, you don't want to be in the middle of something when it's falling. So, like, people, I don't get glee off of hearing that. I mean, yo, like, you got to think about this with a sense. Like, you don't want the United States to fall on you, black. You don't want that to happen. You don't want that to happen at all. Like, so, like, just be careful about, you know, when people talk about, you know what I'm saying, you know, I don't want to, you know, use too much little figures of speech, you know, the devil you know versus the devil you don't. It's just like the United States does this, you know what I'm saying, to itself. So knowing that, just make sure that, you know what I'm saying, if things go left, just that's all I can say is that, you know what I'm saying, make sure the United States ain't falling right on you. You know what I'm saying? That's basically all I got to say.
Real Black Gentleman, Nama X in the chat says, why not? Real Black Gentleman, are you going to respond or no? All right. I guess not. Who do I need to go to next? Tan. What say you? The decline of the US dollar. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Coco.
I can hear you fine.
Okay, so is Tan there or no?
She probably wants to do something.
Yeah, I guess Tan's not there. Carl, what say you?
I mean, if the decline of the U.S. dollar means the decline of the U.S. empire, then I'm all for it. The United States has, like I was saying in the last prompt, and I'm saying in this prompt, that U.S. imperialism has caused untold misery and suffering across the world. So no empire lasts forever. Eventually, all empires fall, and that's just what's happening in this case. Because so many of us have lived our entire lives in which the United States is the globe, the world's only superpower. It's kind of hard to imagine that this won't be happening. But when we think about so many of the wars, like they were just talking about what's going on in Yemen, what's happening in Palestine, what's happening in the Caribbean, in Latin America, and in the Middle East, and all of these wars are either done in part by the United States or either they're funded by the United States. So a decline in U.S. power, the collapse of the dollar, shit, bring it. Bring it. We need. If anything, I'm hoping that the empire will contract. So there's over 800 military bases around the world that done by the United States. So there's bases all in Japan, in Germany, uh, Thailand, the Philippines, in Africa, thanks to Obama. Thanks, Obama. So you know, if we can see the empire contract, if we can see America have less money to spend on bombing poor people into submission in the Middle East, to killing, you sending drones to blow up weddings, I'm all for that. I'm all for that. Uh, a multipolar world, I think is good for everybody, and I think that African people need to stake our claim. We need to, like again, I was saying before, we need to be a part of this poll. We can't just be the world's uh, grocery store where they come by us and steal our shit and pay us scraps for it. So no, so I think that if it's going to be a place where we can break away from U.S. global domination, and I'm not saying go with China, but we need to chart our own path. And I think Jimmy Dore, I'm not too familiar with Jimmy Dore. I don't listen to him too much, but I just think that they're saying it's horrible and everything's happened under Biden. It was going to happen no matter who was president. It really was. I think that had it been Trump, it was going to happen. Had it been, whoever was going to win Clinton, if Hillary Clinton would have won, it would have been happening under Hillary. So eventually, the empire has to contract. And I think that's a good thing. I think that if these other countries are going with the Chinese yuan and the whatever rubles they do in China, they're going with these currencies because the United States is just completely unbalanced in how they manage the economy. And if you don't do what they ask you to do, or if you say something they don't like, they can sanction you. So where you don't have access to the medical care your people need. Countries like Venezuela can't get insulin. Countries like Cuba couldn't get ventilators during COVID. Just had an earthquake in Syria, but because of the U.S. sanctions, they can't get necessary medical care. A country like that, just what does a country like that need to exist for? And I'm saying that as an American. I was born here. Fuck this place. So goodbye for the dollar. I'm not. Listen, you won't get no argument from me. Peace.
Appreciate that, Carl. I guess Tan didn't return. If that's the case, let's go to Buana. Buana, what say you?
I tend to take a different position from Carl. This concerns me a whole lot, and the reason why I say that is because I live in the Bahamas. You know what I mean? Our dollar is pegged to the U.S. dollar. It used to be pegged to the British pound, but now it's pegged to the U.S. dollar. So if that dollar declines, my buying power declines as well. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't want my nieces to have to buy soap from the grocery store for $11. They have to be able to afford that shit. Right now, gas is what, $6 a gallon? You know what I mean? I'll buy them. There's some
Jesus
unintended.
Christ, are you serious? $6 a gallon?
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. So
Whoa.
there's gonna be some unintended consequences to the fall and the decline of the U.S. dollar. I would advise my brothers if they can. Sure, I'd advise them to buy some Chinese yen. I would tell them to buy some Chinese yen and put that put that in the bank somewhere. You know what I mean? If they can, I would tell them to do that. Considering the fact that now since it's still strong, you at least you'll get more bang for your buck And as the yen strengthens, maybe you'll get more money. But right now, there's going to be a whole lot of unintended consequences, in particular with these little small black islands that rest south of North the North, United States of America. And many of them going to suffer, brother. You know what I mean? Even the black Americans, they're going to feel the pinch of that scenario. So, and your families live there as well. So they're going to feel a pinch of that as well. So these things should be considered in the discussion. I know we will see the fall of empire, but we don't want that within its fall. We don't want that fall to go on our loved one's head. So there must be an alternative plan in watching these events as they play out. Some kind of plan that's gonna, we'll be still secure. We'll still be secure on this planet and still be able to provide and feed our families if this empire was to fall. So we need to take some preventative measures and situations, alternative situations, where we put ourselves either in an advantageous position or in a position that we ain't gonna be dramatically affected by it. Like I say, man, every time the buying power of the American dollar is, we feel the pinch of that. They used to say that when the United States catch a cold, the Caribbean get the flu. So I could just imagine if that dollar completely loses its buying power. So I am very concerned about it. I would say that.
Let's welcome MG2 to the panel this week. MG2, how are you this week?
All good. How you guys doing?
Good to hear your voice. Were you paying attention to this conversation?
Definitely.
What say you, MG2?
I've been trading in markets for quite some time, and I have to be very cognizant of where currencies, euro, dollars, bonds, the whole 9 yards are. And one of the things that I noticed when you played the Jimmy Dore program, he's only giving a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of what the United States dollar really is, what it represents, and what it does. A lot of folks are talking about petrodollar. Matter of fact, his chronological display was very wrong because of things that we knew back in 2018 the Chinese were doing, even 2017, in terms of their delinking, for lack of a better term, or what they now call de-dollarization. The thing is I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the term seigniorage. And this was even before Bretton Woods. But seigniorage is basically it's like the golden rule. Whoever has all the gold makes the rules. Well, when you're talking about United States dollars, it's not whoever has the gold makes the rules. It's whoever has the gold breaks the rules, enforces the rules, manages and manipulates the rules only for others because those rules don't apply to them. And that's what seigniorage basically is. We have a thing called price percentage parity, is what you use, like if I buy a Big Mac in Chicago and I buy one in Switzerland or I buy one in Japan, I use the price percentage parity to see how strong that economy is, as in terms of how much of my currency in dollar units does it take to buy that particular product. What Jimmy Dore got wrong, first off, is when they were talking about the petro yuan. Back in 2018 and 2017, we were monitoring the futures markets because, that's what we do. We trade them. And China was talking about, of course, delinking from dollar seigniorage. Even though every economy, every currency, and every individual on this planet is a derivative of U.S. economy, i.e. U.S. treasuries, i.e. U.S. dollars, i.e. U.S. seigniorage. Because everything is based upon dollars, even Bitcoin. Because if somebody asks you, hey, how much is Bitcoin? Well, it's up at $28,000. Well, there you have it, dollars. So therefore, you're a derivative of that value. In other words, they get their intrinsic value from U.S.'s extrinsic value from their economy. But what Jimmy Dore got wrong was what China did. And we noticed this because the futures traders I was with said this is a game changer. Because it's not only a game changer for China, but it's a game changer for Africa, in particular Africa. Yet African nations are usually late to the table and don't necessarily were not very cognizant of the depth of what China was doing. What they did is they used gold as a proxy. In order to trade, you use that gold as a proxy in order to, before it was like, okay, dollars for oil. But if you go gold as a proxy and then use that and base your yuan upon the Chinese yuan or renminbi or whatever it is upon that gold, then therefore you have the ability to, literally, and it's a quasi, almost, I wouldn't say a de facto, it's almost like a proxy for quote unquote de-dollarization, because still yet gold determines its value from dollar. And that was, of course, post Bretton Woods, post Nixon on the gold standard, because they said, we're going to use this as a foundation, as a frame of reference to base every other currency on the planet with. And it's undeniable fact that every currency, every economy, anything that anyone does in terms of banking, payment, credit, insurance, investment, and publishing is a derivative of US Treasury. So the thing is when China did that, what they did is that was a game changer for Africa, because Africa has enormous amount of resources that they could peg in terms of being able to do, whether it's CDs, whether it's Naira, it doesn't matter what it is. They could use that as a proxy. And that's the game changer that these traders were talking about, what China did. Unfortunately, African nations didn't take that as a clue. And the thing is when you see, again, it's all about seigniorage and frame of reference. What you have now is not a delinking because of petrodollar. It's a delinking because of seigniorage. What this does is you have a very connected world, informed world, finance world, militaristic, demanding, sectarian, cronyistic, protectionist, the whole 9 yards. The world has basically become quote unquote flat in terms of access of liquidity. And the only reason why a lot of these nations had to delink, or what they're talking de-dollarization, is because liquidity is centralized. And I'm not just talking money liquidity. I'm talking liquidity of access, information, connectivity. It's all centralized in the European, or the Eurosphere. If you seek real true value of a nation state, you have to gauge it by not only its finance, even if it comes from a fiat, but the connectivity, the protection, i.e. militarism, the access, the information that nation state gets. And Western so-called powers have the most liquidity. So what these other folks are doing in terms of de-dollarization, which is a program that I'm working on in order to go ahead and go to these nations, is to decentralize liquidity. Something that they were thinking about in terms of Bitcoin, yet they turned Bitcoin into mood rings and beanie babies. Because that's all, that's all cryptos is now. It's just a modern form of beanie baby. But the thing is, it's more of a way of saying, if we can decentralize this liquidity and in a financial way, i.e. depegging from a petrodollar to whatever else, then we can start to decentralize the liquidity of access, information, whether it's low Earth satellites, whether it's medical, whatever it is. Because when you have all the quote unquote the golden rule, you could tell other folks to take your certain type of medicine. If there's a major disease, you can say take that medicine and deny everything else. Why? Because that financial mechanism, military mechanism, media, international trade, all of it is based upon whoever has the centralized liquidity. So what Jimmy Dore says is what media wants black folks to hear, and that's what he doesn't know. It's not just about petrodollars. It's petrodollars or petroleum or energy is just 1/8 of what a nation state does, and that's energy. But you have all the other 7 factors of what every nation has, and that's something that that hopefully a lot of our folks will gravitate away from what quote unquote their so-called alternative media and mainstream does, because all these folks, and we traders talk about it all the time. We laugh at these guys because they're these so-called pseudo economists. We say at the end of the day, it's not about this. Nobody knows exactly what's going to happen. And these folks are saying this is why, and it's really funny, but it's entertaining, but it's really, I won't say deceptive, it's just very naive. On the other aspect, when I heard good brother RBG talking in terms of be careful about wanting the end of a dollar, it reminds me of what Malcolm X said when he was talking about House Negro, Field Negro. And here's what I mean: when your frame of reference is somebody else, and you're afraid to walk away from that because it'll crush you, then clearly whatever you're afraid that might hurt you is definitely not in your good interest in the first place. That's what China, Saudi Arabia, and all these other countries are doing. Outside of what black folks, we have a tendency to have fear or trepidation about getting away from the thing that not only hurts us, but hurts entire, like I said, it centralizes liquidity, so where we don't take advantage. Our proximity as African people to European economies it's like Ukraine could get in the front of the line of a concert and we're 3 miles away, even though we have 10 times the amount of resource. It's the proximity to that liquidity, whether it's money, access, information, or whatever else. But the fact is that we're so beholden to it, almost like a Stockholm syndrome, that the best thing that could ever happen is for United States economy to crash. and dollar-based systems to decentralize that liquidity to crash. In other words, they're talking about it crashing. It will not quote unquote crash. It'll just be more liquidity going around the world. And that's what has hurt African people, African countries, African everywhere, is because we've let someone else centralize our information, military, access, agriculture, medicine, connectivity, whatever it is, and money. And therefore, that's why Somalia is going through what it is. That's why, Cote d'Ivoire or Ivory Coast or whoever else, that's why folks in Chicago go through what they do. The thing is, the best thing that ever happened is to listen to Malcolm X very well, but not necessarily for emotive or entertainment purpose. Listen as if you know that you're in Jeffrey Dahmer's house. I don't care how much food he gives you. You know it's all going to be bad. The best thing Africans could work, not only just hope for, wish for, but to actually work for, is to de-dollarize. It will develop our own mechanisms of banking, payment, credit, insurance, investment, and publishing. And therefore, we'll have no other choice because other nations are doing that right now, irrespective of what they feel about dollars. They're getting away from Jeffrey Dahmer's house. I just hope we do. Sorry for being too loquacious, but I just wanted to put that out there for you guys.
MG2, you mentioned that energy is 1/8 of the things nations do. Do you mind obliging me and telling me what the other seven things are?
Yeah, you've got finance, agriculture, health, energy, technology, international trade, media, and militarism, i.e., protection, and not just protection. Like in terms of armies, you've also got internal protection, whether it's cyber or whether it's police. Those are the 8 things that all nations on this planet, in order to survive, they have to have at least one or all 8. African nations don't control any. The weapons on the African continent are all made by someone else, and all the weapons are pointed inside and not out. So the thing is, France would not sell, or Sweden would not sell weapons, or what India just did to become the biggest arms dealer in Africa right now. They don't sell those weapons so Africans can point them at India. So all the guns and everything, in terms of militarism, somebody else owns and controls our militarism because all the guns are pointed at each other. So, and those are the 8 things that even a family has to have. You got to protect it. You got to have agriculture. You have to make sure you're healthy. You have some sort of media when you're talking on the phone. You have education so you can learn. When I say education, I'm not talking schooling. It's practical application of information. You have to have some sort of finance, especially in this world. And it's not just money when I say finance. The basis of trade, the basis of relationships, even if you don't use dollars or anything. That's finance because you have to build, when you have a garden, you put a seed in and it grows more seeds. That's an investment. So you have to have, I said education, media, international trade, finance, health, agriculture. Of course, that speaks for itself. Technology, which is the word as Professor Mwalimu Baruti broke down very well. It just means technique. But a technology is not just, I got a new iPhone. It's a technique to get things done. These are just very simple steps that when Africans can start to approach and not look at someone else as a frame of reference, i.e., we can't break away those dollars because it'll hurt us. Once we start looking at ourselves as our own frame of reference, as the foundation, it won't be a thing of like we shouldn't leave. It'll be like we can't leave that economic so-called system fast enough. Hopefully that helps you.
MG2, can you assist me by pointing me into the direction so where I could find more information on this particular issue you spoke of?
Yeah, it was back in 2018. It was if you ever go on Tasty Trade, it was like early 2018 on Tasty Trade. They talked about how China was using the gold to delink in terms of using dollars. Man, these are futures blogs. Again, it's like 4 years ago, so I'm gonna try to remember all the because I was actually listening to them, and I said, hey, that was no different than the futures conference that I had back in 2017. I'm trying to remember, it was a webcast, and it was a while ago. We were on a webcast, and this was in 2013. I never saved it, but it might have been Man Financial out of Canada. They were like one of the head, and I don't know if they're still around, but Man Financial was talking about how they were using like certain currency mechanisms and why they were afraid of what they were doing was trying to create inflationary shocks in Tanzania, in Dar es Salaam, so they could go ahead and put and have all those hectares of land for rich white Canadians. And I was a fly on the wall, but that's Man Financial, and I think they're out of Canada. There was I'm trying to think where else I had this. Gosh, oh man, it's going to drive me nuts.
Don't worry about it. Just put it in the comment section after the show if you find it, and I'll just look in the comment section and research it when you put it there. Don't worry your head over it right now, brother.
Start with the Tasty Trade. It was a Sunday futures show that they had, and it was in 2018, and they were talking about the that's really a good place to start. And it's in Tasty. I think it's called Tasty Live now. TastyLive.com. And it was the Sunday's Futures show, and it might have been kind of toward the middle of 2018.
Okay, appreciate it, brother.
Yeah, no worries.
Thank you for that, MG2. Rozulius, I don't think I heard from you on this one, and I didn't hear from Tan. I don't know if she's back or not. Rozulius, you have anything to add here? Rozulius, be muted if you're talking.
Oh, okay. I mean, I understand what the brother is saying. I understand what RBG was saying. What I'm saying, I hear a lot of black people, a lot of these people talking, oh, let's the US dollar fall, break, all of that. Oh, let's break it. You know that all that shit is attached to your 401k, to your child's thing. All that shit is attached to that. So we're saying, oh, let the dollar break down. I mean, I hear what this guy is saying. Yo, like the brother just said, there's more to it than the petrodollar. So whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen. I'm just a dumb man. I don't know anything about that. All I could do, and that's why I don't like letting these things penetrate my mind, because at the end of the day, I can't do shit about that. So I hear it on every YouTube channel. The US dollar's voting. The US dollar's voting. What you gonna do? And what pissed me off is these people that talk about, oh, what did you do? Did you have savings? Did you? Shut up! All of this fear mongering, creating all this shit amongst people. If it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. I don't know. I can't do nothing about it. I'm not a financial person. I'm not a big head in the economy. My parents don't. My parents or my family don't own nothing in either country or whatever. So to me, that, like the brother just said about this guy, he's talking about this, making it over simplifying it, and then making everybody scared, this and that and the third. Like, what can I do about this but just listen to it? Like Buana was saying, oh, that thing is going to increase, this and that and the third. Okay, if that happens, do we have an African country that's going to be like, hey, I know y'all shit is fucking up in the America, come over here? Do black people have a safety net? Everybody, all the black nations want the crumbs from the table. They wasn't building shit from the beginning. They wasn't preparing for this fall of the dollar to take advantage. They wasn't doing none of that. Just taking the money, sending their kids to European school and American school. So all of y'all, all people want to talk about, oh yeah, the dollar's falling. Yes. Okay, I want to see y'all say yes. When your 401k that you thought was gonna save you at 60 is gone. And to me, I'm not saying I understand what the people are saying. Oh, let it crash, or let it burn. Okay, at the end of the day, we all know right now, black people are at the bottom of all economic levels. So when it breaks, y'all gonna be down. But at the end of the day, is there a black country that's gonna be like, hey, come over here? Any of these African countries were building up their economy to no. So I don't know what to say about this. I'm just watching. So I'll pass the mic.
I appreciate it, Zuli. Does anyone have any last words?
Can I? I'm sorry. I just wanted to answer his question before I leave. Think of a dollar or a U.S. or a European economy like a seesaw. That's all it is. And the thing is other folks, through their resources and everything else, are at the bottom of that seesaw holding up U.S. dollars or U.S. hegemony. Now, the thing is Africa is always on the bottom of that seesaw. They'll never be able to enjoy the sky and everything up there. The only way that can happen is if whatever's on the other side of that seesaw has to go down. And the thing is a lot of us, I know, and I really dig the brother's passion talking about it. One of the things that I say is Africans, not only in America, but Africans globally, have multitudes over $1 trillion of velocity, not the amount of money, but the velocity of capital, US dollars that goes through our hands yearly. With that, it reminds me of a movie I saw back in 1975 called Man Friday. In other words, other nation states have used this. They use that as a tool to delink themselves and create their own economy. In other words, they're trying to make sure that they're on the best side of the seesaw. And if someone else can do it, I know that we could do it in a heartbeat. The thing is do we have the will to do it? Are we going to continually be subjected to someone else? So therefore, it's like this Thucydides trap we can never get out. It's more important for every African. It's not a thing of should you or could you. It's a thing of you have no other choice but to see United States economy fall. Otherwise, Africa will always be at the bottom. I'll go ahead and pass the mic.
I appreciate that. If there's no last words.
Yeah, I need to say something, yo. I'm not a house nigga. Like, I understand the whole idea that America is doing terrible, terrible things, that the West is doing terrible, terrible things. But a lot of these people who's trying to delineate is doing horrible, horrible things to black people. We're talking about Saudi Arabia, yo. This ain't the 60s and it ain't the right context, yo. And as far as, you know what I'm saying, worry about America, you know what I'm saying, a lot of people in this country, you know what I'm saying, picked up arms with this country in the 18, you know what I'm saying, 60s on they trying to do something about, you know what I'm saying, their situation. So, you know, I'm saying it's not all bad. Foreign policy ain't black folks' fault in this country. Except you, unless you a black person that, you know what I'm saying, dibble dabbles overseas on some extra shit, you know what I'm saying, for Uncle Sam. If anyone got anything to say to me, you know what I'm saying, you hear my voice, I want to hear your voice. I'm a yield.
There is, in listening to MG2 speak, I'm recognizing that for me personally, let me speak about me. There's a financial literacy shortfall that I am doing my best to overcome, because I know that in this world that my community needs to be financially proficient enough to understand the ebbs and flows of the economies of the world and what's going on in terms of how do we go forward. And I think that many of us in my community in particular, there's a financial shortfall that we must overcome. And I try to do it on a daily basis. I try to get information and inform myself as best as I can. When I hear brothers like MG2 speak, I know he has spent a lot of time studying this shit. And he in comparison to his counterparts, I'm sure he's the equivalent of these kinds of people. But I just need to get up to scratch as well. That's where I am with it.
RBG, before I shut it down tonight, because it's 2 a.m., it's after 2 a.m., D Web from the House Rally podcast.
As far as, you know, anyone, I mean, this character who I have blocked, but you know what I'm saying, addressing me, this person ingratiating themselves, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. You know what I'm saying, like I don't have time. I'm not on that time of the sideness of this character. That's not a D Web. That's not this person. I'm talking. You know what I'm saying. But I'm just gonna keep it at that. You know what I'm saying.
Okay.
Who make this brother vex that I buy? Somebody make him vex. Oh goodness, man! RBG going off.
For real. First super chat, KW Don 7 says black people globally are already at the bottom of the current Western hegemonic order. What do you have to lose if it fails? Thank you for that super chat. First one I ever got. Appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, what do you have to lose if it fails? This fear of how hard it's going to fall on you, it done falling on you. It done squeezing you. You know, if the if the slogan is when these people cough, we sneeze, yeah, it already fallen on you. You know, you might as well ride it out. Now, the thing that Trigger Happy 262 was saying in the chat, you don't want to be a sitting duck either. You know, let's try to get organized and ride this thing out proper. But yeah, what do you have to lose? 401k, what does it matter?
I just think that
no.
Listen,
Go ahead, MG. Go ahead, RB. Go ahead.
My bad. It's just that, man, I just feel like it's like what it turns into is like, well, these white folks is doing this stuff. Well, all these non-white people is just, you know what I'm saying? It's just gonna be good. It's just gonna be good. I mean the analysis, you know what I'm saying? I'm not China. I see China, yo. It's like, yo, I mean, I see it. I see the socialism. I see it. I know I feel like, how do I say? I just think that a lot of the figures of speeches and a lot of the sensibilities that we have in this isn't as nuanced as it could be. I understand that if the dollar falls, but yeah, everyone has his rise and fall. But what I'm saying is that black people is not going to be ahead because of it. Everything's just going to transfer slowly, and we won't get we won't have any lead. So it's like, I'm not caping for America. I get it, but I'm not caping for anyone else either.
Right.
I'm certainly not going to sit here and I mean, I know I'm talking. You know what I'm saying? It's like, look, I mean, I see, I find it reflexive. A lot of the international, the workers of the world isms and the socialisms and stuff. Well, I'm not an anti-social person, but I understand capital and how you make wealth and how you get it. Even though I don't have much, I can still see it in perspective. I get it. It's not that, you know what I'm saying? It's like we cannot be reflective. We cannot be so, I don't know. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we have to be tactful about how we feel about this stuff. Do not replace one colonizer with another. That's all I'm saying. If anyone needs to take down America, it's the people within it. You know what I'm saying? Why are we going to like outsource that? That's foolishness.
I'm sorry, you guys. I'm sorry for cutting in. My bad. I wanted to leave this for RBG. What I did is I embarked on a project to de-dollarize. And in order to de-dollarize, basically what I did is I said, with my skill, talent, or information, how do I go ahead and make things to where we have all 8 things, at least one of them, in our control, whether it be media, whether it be finance, or whatever else. So what I do is I'm using their dollars as a tool. One thing, RBG, I understand and overstand is China, Saudi Arabia, and everyone else is a competitor against us. I mean, the day I wake up, every morning I wake up, I say, those are my enemies, no matter who it is. If they're not African, I have an enemy. But the thing that I have to say is, wait a minute, how can I use that dollar tool to create or instill or inspire an entire new economy that others have to be subjected to that we create? So we're the ones in charge of a reserve and not waiting for, America or anyone else to do it. So hopefully you guys will use your talents to de-dollarize. Maybe not financially, but de-dollarize. If you might be able to drive a truck, you might be a construction worker, you might be a baker or whatever else. If you use your skills to create something that Africans could be dependent on, and therefore you could supplant us being dependent on China and everyone else, I think that's at least an initial step that might make everyone's stance on de-dollarization more immediate and not forced with or not going with trepidation. On that note, thank you guys so much, and Hotep.
Yeah, very awesome. Coco, I gotta say something. I gotta chime in here, brother. I got to, man. The conversation is getting very good. Listen, man, I could say that I also am guilty, and I do have Stockholm syndrome to some degree, and I have grown used to certain comforts, and maybe there is some trepidation with the fear of the unknown. What's gonna eventually happen? Because I went to Cuba before, and I see the one dirty sheets under a fire. Baby, that's an extreme way of looking at what's going to happen to these kinds of countries in the Caribbean. But I really don't want to go to that. You know what I mean? I get used to my washing machine. But I should develop a degree of testicular fortitude, go and really embrace the unknown. Because if the unknown has a picture with me inside of it, sure, I agree with that. and I can't be so comfortable where I am, as opposed to embracing the unknown and embracing a situation that may be even better for me. So that is to be discussed as well. But I accept it, to some degree. I do have Stockholm syndrome, man, but I'm trying to work on it,
I appreciate that, boy.
That American propaganda, boy, it's a motherfucker. Because you say you've been to Cuba, but you do know the reason Cuba is in the condition it is because of the U.S. blockade. So if the U.S. goes away, Cuba improves. We can't have true black liberation on this planet with the United States as the world's global superpower with nuclear weapons and the ability to project force anywhere in the world. It can't exist.
KW Don 7 sends another super chat. He says it's either get to the grown-up table or be fooled. I like that as the last word tonight. I want to thank everyone who tuned in. I want to thank everyone who participated on the panel tonight. MG2 came in at the end. That was awesome. Buana Hagaziki, Zuliism, Carl, Real Black Gentleman, all of you guys were on. Tanzan, Lero was here earlier. Before you guys hop off the panel, if you have anything you want to shout out, by all means, give a shout out. You guys check out MG2's channel. MG2, are you there? Give a shout out if you're there. If not, let's go to Real Black. Okay, MG2, go ahead.
I'm going to give you all you guys a shout out and the folks in the chat.
Appreciate it. You guys check out MG2 and MG3. Both of those his channels. Real Black Gentleman, you want to shout anything out this week?
What was I thinking about? I want to shout out my dude. You know what I'm saying? He I had a friend who you know what I'm saying, he had a bad accident, and you know what I'm saying, I learned that, you know what I'm saying, he was doing well. So I'm gonna give a shout out to my man Spoonie. I'm gonna give a shout out to him. Y'all know, but you know what I'm saying, this is my dude. You know what I'm saying, I'm gonna give a shout out to him. That's all.
No problem, man. I appreciate it. Shout out to your homeboy. Tanzan never came back. Buani, want to shout anything out this week?
Shout out to everyone on the panel. This was an extremely spirited discussion. Y'all brothers in the chat, leave RBG alone, man, because RBG, he's a stalwart person. He's been coming to the Bitter Meds. He supports the Bitter Meds very much. So y'all go easy on RBG, man. Y'all point that energy in my direction. I can take the bullets there. RBG, leave that brother alone. He's a good brother.
Right. I appreciate that, Buana. All right, that's a wrap. That's another show. I imagine Hot Shorty Podcast, you guys will be live later tonight. Oni will be on at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Probably Bakari, probably Casidra, maybe even Forecast, who knows. You guys tune into all the shows on KWAZ Radio. Yeah, B-Web will be on tonight, 8 p.m. or 8:15 Eastern Standard Time. Trigger Happy says, good show. Thank all you guys for the prompts. Oni, Buana, Zuli, Jose, who was also in the chat, same piece. Thank you guys for all the prompts. Trigger Happy 262. I hope I mentioned your name. Thanks for all the prompts. Join the Discord. I need to revamp the Discord again. Well, not again. I need to revamp it. I started some work and I never finished it. If you want to help with that, you can help with that. Anyway, until next week. Maybe you'll see me during the week on some other program on KWAZ Radio. But until then, you guys be good. I'll see y'all next week. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast with your host, Koku. If you like what you just heard, we hope you pass along our web address, bittermedicineblogs.com, to your friends and colleagues, and share our show to all your social media. Be sure to check out our archive section on our website for previous podcasts. This has been a KWAZ radio production. Join us next time for another session of the Bitter Medicine Podcast. Follow us on Facebook at Bitter Medicine Show, Twitter, Bitter Meds, Tumblr, Bitter Meds, Instagram, Bitter Medicine.